You are invited into a spacious field of possibility where time feels elastic and attention becomes creative energy. Feel the air around your awareness open like a doorway to subtle realms that respond to your focus. Allow the body to soften and the breath to steady so that your inner sensing can become clear. Notice how a quiet curiosity arises as the noise of shoulds and doubts begins to fade. This moment is a threshold. It asks only that you arrive with gentle attention and open-hearted intention. Let the sense of arrival settle in the chest and the mind like a warm light. The next moment will guide how to perceive the invisible architecture that supports opportunity. Breathe slowly and allow each inhalation to expand possibility, each exhalation to release tension and old limits. With every breath, tune into the subtle frequency beneath ordinary thought and discover a quieter intelligence. Your attention becomes an instrument that sculpts the field. Notice what shifts when curiosity leads your focus. As presence deepens, your nervous system begins to recalibrate toward openness and receptivity. This calm clarity becomes the foundation for clearer intention and more precise energetic shaping. Keep breathing into this presence so that the mind can align with the deeper orchestration of events. Soon the structure of intention will feel less like a concept and more like a felt presence ready to be directed. Allow a sense of the field to emerge as a living presence that responds to subtle touch and focus. Feel the space around you humming with possibility, like a sky full of unseen currents and threads of light. Your attention can move through that field and perceive areas of density, openness, and resonance. Learn to sense where energy feels receptive and where it feels weighted or sluggish. Noticing these textures gives practical information about where intention will land most easily. As you refine this felt sense, opportunity begins to appear less as random luck and more as a detectable pattern. The next step is to understand how quantum intention operates within this responsive field. Make a gentle, clear intention that acts like a seed placed into the receptive ground of the field. Keep the intention simple and vivid, avoiding busy details that dilute its subtle signal. As you hold that seed, notice how the field around it begins to rearrange in small, meaningful ways. Trust that the first contact is never finished. It evolves through attention, feeling, and aligned action. Allow curiosity to be your companion rather than pressure or desperation. This initial placement is the start of a dialogue between inner clarity and outer possibility. Prepare now to explore the quantum metaphor that explains how signals travel and coalesce.
Think of the field like an ocean of probabilities where your intention is a ripple that attracts complementary waves. Each focused thought or feeling is a frequency that nudges which probabilities become more likely to manifest. Your role is not to force outcomes, but to become a coherent source that invites aligned possibilities. Coherence increases signal strength, scattered attention weakens it. Notice how metaphors can guide practical behavior when they are felt rather than merely thought about. Carry this image of ripple and resonance as a map for how to move through the rest of this practice. Ahead lies a practical breakdown of how to shape that frequency with clarity and feeling.
Settle into a rhythm of practice, choosing moments where distraction is minimal and attention is available. Decide on a consistent container, a daily pause, a morning alignment, or a ritual before important interactions so your signal becomes coherent. Keep the practice simple and devoted to quality of focus rather than length alone. Over time, this rhythm trains your nervous system to recognize and maintain the frequency of attraction. Remember that steadiness builds trust between your inner knowing and external events. With this foundation, move forward into uncovering how to clarify intention with precision and heart. The next chapter will teach practical ways to craft intention that magnetizes high-value opportunities. Recognize that the field is not empty. It is a living architecture of patterns, relationships, and potential. You can begin to map the contours of that architecture by observing where attention naturally gravitates. These patterns inform how influence moves and where openings appear for career momentum. By learning to perceive this architecture, you become an informed participant rather than a passive observer. The field responds to clarity and consistency, rewarding directed presence with greater traction. Hold this awareness as a practical foundation, not a mystical excuse, for intentional action. Next, explore how intention functions as a precise signal within this architecture. See intention as a signal that carries a frequency shaped by your clarity, emotion, and embodied posture. Strong, coherent signals travel farther and influence more than scattered or desperate ones. Your emotional tone acts as a filter that colors the signal, attracting opportunities that match both content and feeling. Practice refining your inner frequency so it aligns with the caliber of opportunity you seek. Small shifts in tone can dramatically alter the field's response to your signal. This is why internal calibration matters as much as external strategy when magnetizing high-value openings. The next scene will explain how clarity sharpens that signal. Understand that forceful striving often creates interference, while coherence enhances reception and attracts matching circumstances. When your attention is integrated across heart, body, and mind, the signal becomes unified and elegant. Coherence reduces friction and increases the velocity of alignment between inner desire and outer circumstance. The practice is to cultivate alignment inside first, then allow that alignment to guide necessary action. Notice how a calm, steady presence can accomplish more than frantic pushing. The following scene will outline methods to build coherence within daily routines.
Translate your intention into a map of probabilities, identifying likely pathways and useful detours. You do not control every variable, but you can influence likelihoods by signaling clearly and choosing wise actions. Create a list of probable steps and prioritize those that align with your highest energy and expertise. This probabilistic map gives you flexibility and reduces anxiety about total control. When you think in probabilities, setbacks become feedback rather than catastrophic failure. Hold curiosity toward emergent options and test small moves to see how the field responds. Next, learn practical techniques to strengthen and anchor the signal in your daily life.
Anchor your intention through simple rituals that connect feeling, language, and routine into a coherent loop. A short morning statement, a movement that embodies confidence, or a visual reminder can act like a mooring line connecting you to your signal. Consistent anchors help prevent drift and signal fatigue when daily life becomes busy. Choose anchors that feel authentic and joyful rather than forced or performative. With repeated anchoring, the field begins to recognize and respond to your pattern readily. The next scene will explore how to balance inner calibration with external positioning for career impact. Positioning is the outward expression of an inward calibration that communicates value and readiness. Align your public presence, language, portfolio, demeanor with the frequency you have cultivated internally. Small changes in positioning can open doors to higher value conversations and collaborations. Remember that positioning without inner alignment becomes hollow and unsustainable, while alignment without positioning remains invisible. Aim for congruence, where internal clarity meets strategic external presentation. As placement and practice coalesce, opportunities begin to tune toward you more naturally. Begin by choosing an aim that feels specific, meaningful, and oriented toward contribution rather than mere gain. Your intention is most magnetic when it ties personal purpose to value for others or the world. Avoid vague wishes and instead name the role, outcome, or resource in clear terms that guide measurable steps. Allow the aim to excite the body and calm the mind instead of creating pressure or anxiety. Clarity not only sharpens the signal but also reveals practical opportunities that align with your strengths. Hold this aim gently, open to refinement as insights arise. Next, refine language so the aim resonates at both cognitive and felt levels. Craft a concise intention statement that uses present-tense language and evokes sensory feeling rather than abstract desire. Use words that are grounded and actionable. For example, attract high-value collaborations in product strategies rather than get a better job. Make sure the language aligns with your integrity and long-term vision so that the field receives a coherent and stable message. Speak the intention aloud, or write it in a place of reverence to reinforce its energetic weight. Adjust wording until the phrase feels both vivid and true, deep in the body. This careful wording will make the signal easier to maintain and refine over time. The following scene explains the role of emotion and embodiment in this clarity work. Notice the emotional tone that accompanies your chosen intention and calibrate it toward grounded confidence and receptive joy. Emotions act as amplifiers that color the signal and attract matching scenarios in the field. Avoid desperation or scarcity-based longing, which tend to contract your signal and attract compromised options. Instead, cultivate gratitude for emerging possibilities and a steady anticipation of growth. Feelings of calm expectation send a magnetic quality that draws higher value opportunities. Practice shifting internal tone through breath, posture, and brief visualizations when necessary. Up next will be sensory methodologies to embody your clarified intention fully. Create sensory anchors that make your intention tangible. Scent, sound, a gesture, or an image that triggers alignment quickly. These anchors act like shortcuts to return the body and attention to resonance when distraction appears. Use a specific posture or a subtle touch to the throat or chest as a discreet reminder of your chosen aim. Combine the anchor with your concise intention statement and a breath pattern to strengthen its neural pathways. Practice the anchor daily so that it becomes an automatic bridge back to clarity. This embodied technique readies you for the next stage, releasing interference and clearing space to receive. Define the criteria that signal a high-value opportunity for your career: compensation, creative autonomy, alignment with skills, impact, growth potential, or network quality. These criteria help you filter offers and recognize opportunities that truly serve your trajectory. When criteria are clear, decisions become faster and attention stays focused on what matters most. Update these criteria as experience provides new information and your capacity expands. Use them as a compass when external options appear, so you do not chase less aligned, shiny objects. With criteria set, the field becomes navigable, and the next chapter will guide removing blockages that interfere with attraction. Hold your clarified intention with steady commitment while releasing attachment to specific outcomes or timelines. Commitment is the fuel that sustains practice and aligned action. Clinging is the constriction that undermines signal quality. Trust that the field favors clarity and trust over panic and force. Maintain curiosity about how the intention might show up in ways beyond current expectations. This balance creates creative openness while preserving momentum toward your aim. Prepare now to remove inner obstacles so the clarified intention may travel unobstructed into the world. Begin by scanning your internal landscape for patterns that create drag old stories, self-doubt, fear of visibility, or conditioned scarcity. You can learn to recognize these patterns as energetic textures rather than permanent truths. When triggered, notice how your breath tightens, posture changes, and attention narrows. These cues are signals that interference is present and that the field will respond accordingly. Bring gentle curiosity rather than judgment to each recognition so that awareness itself begins to dissolve heaviness. This spotting becomes the first practical tool for clearing and prepares you for targeted release techniques. Next, practice simple reframing to loosen the grip of old narratives. When a limiting story arises, invite a different perspective that is kinder, truer, and more empowering. Instead of "not ready," try learning through practice and notice how the tone shifts toward potential. Reframing is not denial. It is an honest expansion of context that reveals alternative probabilities. Practice reframes aloud and watch how the field responds to a clearer, gentler narrative. The nervous system needs repetition to change its default patterns, so make this a regular habit. As stories loosen, space opens for new signals to travel with less resistance. Soon, more direct, energetic releases will support deeper clearing. Use breath techniques that move caught energy. Inhale for gathering, hold briefly, and exhale with a sound or sigh that signals letting go. Visualize dense knots of worry dissolving into silver mist as the breath carries them away. Anchor the release with a small physical gesture, like soft shaking of the shoulders to integrate the shift bodily. Repeat until tension eases and clarity returns to the mind. This embodied practice resets the signal so that intention can travel with more sovereignty. The next technique deepens, clearing at an emotional level for persistent blocks. Permit emotions to move without resistance, giving yourself permission to feel fully and then let the feeling pass. Labeling the emotion, frustration, fear, grief, brings it into the light where it loses excess charge. Use safe micro-rituals such as journaling, vocal toning, or timed breath to metabolize stuck affect. As emotion clears, confidence and openness return naturally to the field around your intention. Emotional hygiene is practical maintenance for anyone seeking sustained attraction of high-value opportunities. The following scene will teach how to clear energetic residues from relationships and environments.
Notice how past relationships, contracts, or unresolved conversations can leave a residue that affects present magnetism. Create symbolic rituals to close these loops. Letters that are not sent, visualizations that release attachments, or conversations where possible. Set energetic boundaries to shield your field while still remaining compassionate and professional. Clearing relational residue frees mental and emotional bandwidth for new, aligned connections. Maintain regular check-ins to ensure new people and opportunities are not unintentionally pulled into old patterns. With relational housekeeping in place, your signal becomes more refined and trustworthy.
Examine your physical and digital environments for clutter, outdated materials, or misaligned signals that confuse potential opportunities. cleanse workspaces, update online profiles, and curate visible materials so they reflect your current intention and value. Small changes in environment act like tuning pegs that make interactions clearer and more potent. Design spaces that invite focus, creativity, and confident presence when meeting prospective collaborators or clients. Environmental hygiene is practical and symbolic, signaling readiness to both you and the field. Next, attention will turn toward building embodied states that hold your magnetic frequency. Notice how your posture sends a non-verbal message into the field long before words or credentials do. Stand or sit with relaxed spine, open chest, and a soft forward gaze to communicate readiness and ease. Embodied posture that aligns with confidence makes your signal coherent and attractive to high-value collaborators. Small adjustments in body language can shift other people's perception and your internal chemistry simultaneously. Practice embodying the qualities of the roles you seek so that when opportunity arrives, you are naturally prepared. This physical alignment is a bridge between inner clarity and outer presence. Next, explore breath and tone that support your embodied signal. Use breath patterns that calm the nervous system and create steady internal tones that match high-value contexts. A slow 4-4-6 breathing cycle can steady thought and anchor presence before important conversations or presentations. When breath is calm, vocal tone becomes resonant and persuasive without strain. Practice breathing with intention to rehearse a grounded state before meetings, interviews, and negotiations. This embodied steadiness becomes part of your brand and helps others sense reliability and gravitas. With breath as a reliable support, posture and voice align into a cohesive professional presence. The next scene will show how micro-behaviors amplify invitation and trust.
Cultivate micro-behaviors. Attentive listening, measured speech, calm pacing that convey competence and presence in every interaction. Small pauses before responses communicate thoughtfulness and create space for rapport to deepen. Mirroring subtle rhythms of conversation without copying fosters an intuitive connection that opens doors. Use clear eye contact, gentle nods, and soft affirmations to show engagement and reliability. These small acts compound over time, shaping reputations and attracting collaborators who value presence. Observe which micro-behaviors feel authentic and integrate them into daily encounters. Next, learn how to translate embodied alignment into confident messaging and positioning.
Express your value proposition with concise language that highlights outcomes, not just duties or titles. Frame offerings in terms of problem solved, impact created, and metrics improved whenever possible. Use storytelling selectively to humanize your experience and make your contributions relatable. Practice a brief elevator statement that feels truthful and energizing when spoken aloud. When communication is clear and embodied, it broadcasts readiness and opens conversations with high-caliber partners. This skill turns alignment into tangible opportunity by making your signal easily interpretable. Next, integrate embodied presence with strategic outreach methods.
Design daily routines that nourish energy, sharpen skill, and maintain alignment for the long haul. Include time blocks for focused work, creative exploration, networking, learning, and restoration, so momentum is sustainable. Routines create reliable rhythms that the field learns to expect and respond to, increasing the predictability of opportunity. Honor sleep, nutrition, and movement because high-value roles require sustained capacity and resilience. Keep routines flexible enough to accommodate spontaneous opportunities without collapsing structure. Over time, these patterns compound into a professional presence that attracts and holds greater responsibility and reward. The final scene will prepare how to translate alignment into strategic action.
Let alignment inform the quality and timing of action rather than dictating every move rigidly. Choose actions that feel like natural extensions of your embodied state and that test the field with clarity rather than desperation. Small, aligned experiments teach faster than large leaps done from confusion. Track results and iterate, honoring evidence with curiosity and adaptability. With each aligned action, your reputation and networks begin to reflect the level of opportunity you are cultivating. Prepare to amplify this magnetism through networking and strategic visibility in the next chapter. Recognize that consistency is a form of credibility in the field. Steady practice compounds into recognizable patterns that attract attention. Daily micro-gestures of presence and skill signal reliability to potential collaborators and decision-makers. When your pattern is predictable in quality, others begin to include you in opportunities that require trust and repeatability. Make consistency manageable by focusing on high-leverage habits rather than perfection. Over time, the field begins to resonate to your persistent frequency and opens matching doors. Next, explore ways to intentionally amplify your signal without diluting its coherence. Choose visibility opportunities that align with your intention and showcase your highest value contributions. Speak, publish, present, or share work where the audience matches your criteria of value. Visibility should be strategic rather than performative, targeting platforms and people who can accelerate meaningful connections. Use stories and case studies to highlight impact rather than self-centered boasting. Let public presence be an extension of embodied alignment and not a replacement for substance. As visibility increases, so does the likelihood of attracting high-quality opportunities that match your aims. The next scene will show how to design outreach that feels authentic and magnetic. Approach outreach with curiosity and contribution, offering value before asking for favors or introductions. Personalize messages so recipients feel seen and understood rather than mass-targeted. Lead with what we can create together or how a shared goal could be advanced, aligning outreach with mutual benefit. Keep ask sizes reasonable and respectful of others' time and context. Authentic outreach builds networks that are collaborative, not transactional, and strengthens long-term reputation. Test different approaches and refine language based on responses to become both efficient and warm. The following scene explains how reciprocity deepens attraction. Cultivate networks where reciprocity is the norm, places where giving creates natural openings for future collaboration. Offer introductions, share resources, and celebrate others' wins so the field recognizes your generosity as a pattern. Networks built on mutual support are more resilient and yield higher value opportunities than purely transactional connections. Keep a list of people to follow up with and small ways to be helpful that maintain authenticity. Recognize that reciprocity is not strategic manipulation, but a structural principle of healthy exchange. When reciprocity is practiced, the broader field reciprocates with opportunities and support. Next, learn to use symbolic amplification practices to enrich presence. Use symbolic acts. Launch rituals, public commitments, signature presentations that amplify your signal in a memorable way. Symbols condense complex messages into accessible forms that the field and people can recognize quickly. Design signature elements that reflect your unique approach and the value you bring, so audiences remember and refer you. Ensure symbolism is backed by substance to avoid hollow impressions. When symbolic acts align with consistent performance, your magnetism multiplies and attracts higher caliber responses. The final scene will show how to track impact and iterate amplification strategies effectively.
Create simple feedback systems to measure which visibility and outreach efforts yield the most aligned responses. Track metrics like conversation quality, proposal conversion, and network depth rather than vanity numbers alone. Use insights to refine where attention yields greatest return and to prune activities that drain energy with little alignment. Iteration is an experimental approach that blends curiosity with evidence, improving your signal over time. Celebrate small wins and learn from misfires without harsh judgment. With consistent measurement, amplification becomes a reliable lever to magnetize high-value opportunities.
Design a short daily ritual that anchors intention, calibrates emotion, and primes action for the day ahead. Combine breath, a concise intention statement, and a moment of visualization that imagines one key interaction going well. Keep the ritual under 5 minutes to ensure consistency and avoid resistance. Treat this practice as non-negotiable maintenance, akin to brushing teeth or checking email. Over time, the ritual becomes a dependable signaling routine that orients energy toward the highest probability opportunities. Let this ritual be simple, sacred, and repeatable, regardless of scheduled demands. In the next scene, explore a preparation ritual for pivotal moments in presentations. Before a meeting, talk, or negotiation, create a compact preparation ritual that readies body and mind and clarifies one key objective. Use a brief breath practice, a posture check, and a micro-visualization of the desired energetic tone for the exchange. Identify one primary outcome and one generous contribution you can offer, so the interaction becomes reciprocal. Keep language clean and concrete to reduce ambiguity under pressure. When preparation is embodied, the voice, timing, and presence that appear naturally become persuasive and memorable. This preparation ritual turns high-stakes moments into manageable, aligned performances.
After pivotal meetings or project milestones, close the loop with a symbolic ritual that acknowledges completion and releases attachment. This could be a brief journal entry, a dedicated breath, or an altar offering that marks the transition into next steps. Closing rituals prevent accumulation of unfinished energetic charge and clarify the field for subsequent intentions. They also create neurochemical markers of completion that reduce anxiety and open space for new opportunities. Make closures personal and sincere. They need not be elaborate to be effective. With consistent closures, creativity and receptivity increase markedly in daily life. Turn networking into a ritualized practice that emphasizes listening, curiosity, and small acts of service rather than shallow exchange. Before entering a networking environment, set one clear intention for who to meet and what value to offer. During conversations, focus on discovering needs and patterns rather than promoting an agenda. Afterward, send brief, personalized follow-ups that acknowledge specifics from the meeting and suggest one small next step. These rituals transform networking into meaningful relationship building rather than random schmoozing. Over time, ritualized networking fills the pipeline with aligned opportunities rather than noise. The next scene will present visualization techniques to deepen attraction. Use guided visualizations to rehearse future scenes of collaboration, negotiation, and creative leadership in vivid sensory detail. Imagine the setting: voices, tactile sensations, and feelings of mutual respect and clear outcomes. Rehearsal in this sensory-rich way trains the nervous system to recognize those scenarios as familiar rather than unknown. Keep visualizations anchored in realistic steps rather than fantasy, so they inform practical action. Pair visualization with the sensory anchors created earlier to make the experience more immediately accessible. Regular practice deepens field familiarity and reduces fear in actual engagements. On a periodic cycle, monthly or quarterly, perform a longer ceremony to recalibrate intention and celebrate progress while releasing what no longer serves. Create a sacred container that includes review, gratitude, forgiveness, and recommitment to refined aims. Use objects, music, or movement to make the ceremony tangible and meaningful for the nervous system. These larger rituals help re-anchor long-term direction and renew motivation for the journey ahead. They also create identifiable milestones that guide career evolution with grace and clarity. With both daily and periodic rituals, your life becomes a practice of continuous, intentional refinement.
Learn to recognize the tactile qualities of a high-value lead: clarity of communication, aligned timelines, mutual interest, and clear impact potential. Trust your criteria and the embodied sense that the opportunity respects your time and expertise. When leads feel murky or demand excessive proof without reciprocity, they likely do not match your value metrics. Use early conversations to test alignment and reveal red flags quickly. Efficient screening saves energy and preserves focus for the most promising pathways. When quality leads are recognized, attention can move from chasing to curating. The next scene will discuss how to negotiate from presence and worth.
Approach negotiation as a collaborative design process rather than a battle for crumbs, centering mutual benefit and clear metrics of success. State your value confidently, using evidence, outcomes, and what the partnership will enable for both parties. Let openness to creativity allow alternative structures of compensation, timelines, or collaboration that honor worth and fit. Maintain calm boundaries and be willing to say no when offers degrade your criteria. Negotiation from sovereignty communicates that your presence is a resource and not a commodity to be discounted. When negotiation is truthful and aligned, it becomes a magnet for better opportunities. Next, explore how to leverage mentorship and advisory relationships to access higher value openings. Cultivate relationships with mentors and sponsors who genuinely advocate for your advancement and can open doors to higher circles. Distinguish between mentors who offer wisdom and sponsors who use influence to create opportunities on your behalf. Offer your own value in these relationships through insight, support, and reliable contribution rather than transactional favors. Nurture these bonds with regular, meaningful updates and clear expressions of appreciation. Sponsor relationships often require patience and consistent demonstration of impact, but yield exponential returns. Identify 2 to 3 potential advocates and design small asks that invite them to invest in your trajectory. The next scene will outline how to steward unexpected offers that arise. Cultivate relationships with mentors and sponsors who genuinely advocate for your advancement and can open doors to higher circles. Distinguish between mentors who offer wisdom and sponsors who use influence to create opportunities on your behalf. Offer your own value in these relationships through insight, support, and reliable contribution rather than transactional favors. Nurture these bonds with regular, meaningful updates and clear expressions of appreciation. Sponsor relationships often require patience and consistent demonstration of impact, but yield exponential returns. Identify 2 to 3 potential advocates and design small asks that invite them to invest in your trajectory. The next scene will outline how to steward unexpected offers that arise. Cultivate relationships with mentors and sponsors who genuinely advocate for your advancement and can open doors to higher circles. Distinguish between mentors who offer wisdom and sponsors who use influence to create opportunities on your behalf. Offer your own value in these relationships through insight, support, and reliable contribution rather than transactional favors. Nurture these bonds with regular, meaningful updates and clear expressions of appreciation. Sponsor relationships often require patience and consistent demonstration of impact, but yield exponential returns. Identify 2 to 3 potential advocates and design small asks that invite them to invest in your trajectory. The next scene will outline how to steward unexpected offers that arise.
When offers arrive, evaluate them against your defined criteria, lived experience, and future trajectory rather than rushing for immediate gratification. Consider compensation, autonomy, alignment with purpose, skill development, and network effects equally in the assessment. Use a simple decision matrix to weigh trade-offs without becoming paralyzed by fear. Consult trusted advisors or mentors to gain perspective while honoring your intuition and embodied response. Remember that saying no gracefully preserves bandwidth for opportunities that better match long-term goals. With practiced evaluation, your career becomes a curated series of aligned choices rather than a set of accidental occurrences.
When accepting a high-value opportunity, design an onboarding process that clarifies expectations, establishes communication rhythms, and sets initial milestones. Use the first 90 days to demonstrate reliability, create measurable impact, and deepen alignment with new teams or partners. Communicate early wins and iterate on role definition as needed to maintain clarity and growth. Protect your energy by setting boundaries around scope, creep while offering creative solutions to emergent needs. Thoughtful onboarding accelerates trust and creates a foundation for future high-impact contributions. Next, learn how resilience and adaptation maintain momentum after initial success. After initial wins, sustain momentum by balancing strategic focus with continuous learning and relationship cultivation. Keep rhythm in practice and presence so the field continues to recognize your signal and bring further opportunities. Celebrate progress in ways that reinforce confidence and expand your appetite for larger roles and responsibilities. Remain adaptable, using feedback as data to pivot or deepen influence where needed. Protect time for reflection to avoid reactive exhaustion that undermines long-term success. With steady stewardship, initial opportunities compound into a career trajectory that feels abundant, meaningful, and generative. Periodically, review your practices, outcomes, and the messages your field appears to be responding to in order to refine course. Spend time assessing what habits produced traction and which activities diluted your signal. Honest reflection without self-blame creates a feedback loop that accelerates growth. Use a simple template: what worked, what shifted, what to let go, and what to amplify next. This ritual of review keeps career evolution intentional and responsive rather than accidental. Allow insights from review to inform next cycle of intention and action. The next scene will focus on deeper skill building and competence as pillars of attraction. Invest in targeted learning that expands high-demand skills connected to your clarified intention and the market landscape. Deep competence not only improves deliverables but also strengthens professional confidence and reputation.
Choose learning modalities that match your style: coaching, practice, structured courses, or project-based learning. Apply new skills immediately in small experiments to solidify integration and reveal real-world leverage. Maintain a growth mindset that values mastery over speed so your expertise becomes durable. This lifelong commitment to craft feeds the field with evidence that you are a trustworthy generator of value. The next scene will examine how to adapt to changing contexts without losing signal coherence.
Cultivate adaptive flexibility so changing contexts become invitations to refine your signal rather than threats to identity. Stay informed about industry shifts, cultural trends, and emergent needs so your offerings remain relevant and high value. Test new formats and collaborations with curiosity and rapid iteration rather than fearful adherence to past models. Maintain core criteria of value even while tactics evolve to match new landscapes. This balance of steadiness and flexibility keeps your attraction durable and future-facing. Next, practice the art of letting go of roles or projects that no longer serve your trajectory with grace.
Recognize when projects, roles, or relationships have completed their usefulness and craft intentional exits that preserve dignity and relationships. Letting go creates capaciousness for new, better aligned opportunities to appear in the field. Use clear communication and generous transition plans to leave doors open for future collaboration. Avoid clinging to status or identity that confuses the field and drains energy. See release as an act of stewardship for both personal capacity and communal networks. With graceful exits, momentum can be redirected toward work that matches expanded intention. The following scene will show how to ritualize learning into long-term habits.
Transform insights into durable habits by creating micro-commitments that are easy to maintain and scale over time. Pair new behaviors with existing routines, using habit stacking techniques to reduce friction and increase retention. Celebrate small wins publicly or privately to create positive reinforcement loops that encourage continued practice. Keep learning logs and periodically summarize lessons into concise frameworks that can be shared with collaborators. Embedding lessons in this way grows not only capability but also confidence to pursue larger, more valuable opportunities. The final scene will frame integration as an ongoing conversation with the field that deepens over time.
See integration as an ongoing dialogue where attention, action, and feedback continually refine the relationship between inner intention and external events. Treat the field as a collaborator that provides information, not simply a resource to be extracted. Regular listening practices, reflection, feedback seeking, and quiet observation keep this dialogue alive and informative. Respond to emergent signals with curiosity, testing small moves to see how the field replies. Over time, this two-way practice develops a trustworthy pattern of co-creation that yields sustainable high-value impact. Prepare to close this series by stepping into expansion with stewardship and gratitude. As opportunities accumulate, consider how influence can be scaled without diluting the quality of presence and contribution. Design systems, teams, and processes that allow impact to expand while preserving the essence of what makes your work magnetic. Delegate with trust and set clear standards so the field recognizes consistent value across structure and leadership. Scaling influence responsibly requires intentional architecture and the humility to adapt as complexity grows. Keep alignment practices in place at organizational and personal levels to prevent drift. The next scene will explore how to steward abundance with integrity and generosity.
Steward abundance as a shared resource, investing time and assets into communities, mentorship, and systems that multiply opportunity for others. Treat abundance as a practice of reciprocity and accountability rather than a private gain to hoard. Use influence to create frameworks that reduce gatekeeping and increase access for talented people from diverse backgrounds. Generosity enhances reputation and invites partner ecosystems that further amplify impact. Align philanthropic and professional giving to create coherent value flows that benefit both personal trajectory and collective flourishing. Stewardship becomes a measure of maturity when abundance is used to lift others while sustaining excellence.
Maintain an ethical compass as attraction grows, being mindful of how influence affects others, power dynamics, and systemic outcomes. Make decisions that avoid exploitative shortcuts and instead prioritize dignity, consent, and mutuality. Transparency about intent and clear boundaries reduces the risk of harm and builds long-term trust. Regularly engage trusted peers and advisors to test decisions against wider social impacts. Ethical practice not only aligns with inner values, but also preserves reputational capital, critical for sustained career advancement. The following scene will offer practices for mentoring and multiplying impact responsibly.
Share knowledge generously with emerging talent, offering guidance that accelerates their learning while preserving their autonomy. Mentorship is a multiplier of impact when it cultivates independence, critical thinking, and skillful generosity. Structure mentoring with clear goals and accountability so both mentor and mentee benefit with clarity and respect. Recognize that mentoring also refines leadership skills and offers fresh perspectives that improve your own practice. Invest in communities and programs that scale mentorship intelligently to widen access to high-value pathways. This cultivation of the next wave ensures the longevity of the ecosystems that sustain opportunity. Consider the legacy being built, not as a vanity metric, but as the network of impact, structures, and people whose lives are improved by your work. Legacy emerges from consistent, principled action and the generosity of attention given to systems, communities, and craft over time. Create documentation, share frameworks, and institutionalize practices that preserve learning beyond individual tenure. Think of legacy as a living ecosystem rather than a static trophy. It grows when nourished and pruned with care. Intentional legacy work aligns present decisions with the future you wish to enable for others. The final scene will close the journey with a call to continued practice and presence.
Return regularly to presence as the foundational practice that keeps magnetism honest, sustainable, and generative across seasons of growth. Presence invites responsiveness and wisdom into every decision, preventing arrogance and preserving curiosity. Carry forward the rituals, clarity tools, and relational practices learned here as ongoing companions rather than one-time tricks. Let career growth be an expression of purpose, craft, and generosity that benefits both self and the wider field. Step into expansion with humility, courage, and steady-hearted commitment to practice. This moment marks not an end but an opening into continual alignment, curiosity, and abundant possibility.